Gold has just hit a record high of 6,821 Australian dollars per ounce. And when a number like that appears, it doesn't just move markets, it rewires imagination. It plants the idea that freedom might still exist in the same creek beds that built Victoria's gold towns. That maybe a person could step away from employment, walk into the bush with a shovel and sluice, and live directly from the land again. This video isn't here to sell that dream or dismiss it. It's here to slow it down and examine what that life actually looks like in practice. This is the first of 3 videos. This one focuses on the realities of alluvial gold prospecting. The next will dive into hard rock gold mining as a full-time pursuit, and the third will examine metal detecting as a primary income source. Each path looks simple from the outside, but none of them really are. Alluvial gold mining isn't really mining in the industrial sense. There's no defined resource, no reserve estimate, no production schedule. You're not extracting something known to exist, you're chasing a process that happened in the past. Every piece of alluvial gold exists because water behaved in a very specific way at a very specific moment in time. Velocity, turbulence, energy loss, flood history and bedrock geometry decide everything. Hydrodynamics is the only boss. That means gold distribution is brutally uneven. 2 holes 10 meters apart can give completely opposite results. One can be sterile, the other can hold weeks worth of gold. Accepting that imbalance is the first psychological threshold of full-time prospecting. When you do find a pay streak, it feels like momentum, but pay streaks aren't continuity, they're historical accidents. Some exist because 19th century miners skipped past it, others formed long after the gold rush, when floods reworked tailings or cut new trap sites. Some were created by a single extreme event that may never repeat again. Once that gold is removed, there's no promise of replacement nearby. You're not opening a system, you're closing a chapter. The creek doesn't regenerate income just because you're willing to keep digging. Overburden is where theory collides with reality. Every new section of creek resets the workload. Soil, flood gravel, compacted clay, cobbles, roots, collapsed bank material, all of it must be moved before you even know where the gold is present. In Victoria, overburden of a metre or more is common. That means most of your day is spent moving material with no value at all just to reach the layer that might pay. Prospecting by hand isn't sampling, it's continuous excavation. Public land defines strict boundaries. Holes must be backfilled, native vegetation can't be disturbed, waterways can't be diverted, banks can't be undermined. Tools are limited to hand methods. These rules exist for good reasons, but they also narrow the conditions under which ground can be profitable. Machines make marginal ground pay by brute force. Humans can't. By hand, only gold that's already well concentrated is workable. That overlap exists, but it's small, discontinuous, and competitive. Material handling becomes the silent limiter. Even with a high banker, sluice, or battery-powered trommel, every shovel still passes through your body. Buckets must be lifted, carried, classified and fed. Throughput is capped by fatigue, not ambition. Recovery losses quietly accumulate. Fine gold losses, especially common in Victorian systems, don't announce themselves. 10% loss feels small until it compounds across weeks. Many people find gold, far fewer actually keep most of it. Another reality most people never run properly is the maths. They take a good day and multiply it by 365. But full-time prospecting doesn't produce 365 productive days. Weather wipes out weeks, floods shut access down entirely, fire restrictions cancel summer plans, travel days produce nothing. Testing new ground often produces nothing as well, and fatigue forces rest. In reality, only a fraction of days actually generate gold, and those days must subsidize all the others. Travel quietly erodes profit as well. Ground that still pays is rarely close to home. Fuel, tyres, suspension wear, registration, insurance, and vehicle maintenance compound year after year. Access tracks punish vehicles far more than highway driving. Time spent driving isn't productive, but it still costs money. Over long periods, transport becomes one of the largest hidden expenses in alluvial prospecting. Equipment attrition adds another layer. Pumps ingest grit, hoses split, mats wear, classifiers crack, batteries degrade, shovels bend, wet weather gear wears out constantly. None of this happens once, it happens continuously. Full-time prospecting turns equipment into consumables, and replacement costs quietly eat into returns. Then there's the learning curve tax. The first year is rarely profitable. Mistakes cost gold. Poor site selection wastes energy. Inefficient recovery bleeds value invisibly. Skill doesn't increase in a linear fashion. It arrives in jumps, often after long dry periods. Many people quit just before competence arrives. assuming the ground is the problem rather than the learning curve. One of the most dangerous traps is almost payable ground. Ground that gives just enough gold to keep hope alive, but not enough to sustain you. It drains time, energy, and morale. Knowing when to walk away isn't failure, it's survival. Full-time prospectors don't win by persistence alone, they win by abandoning bad ground early. Competition adds constant pressure. On public land, your spot is never yours. You can spend weeks learning a section of creek, mapping bedrock and refining recovery, only to arrive one morning and find someone else working it. They aren't unethical, they're doing exactly what you're doing. Even where claims exist, restrictions still apply. You can't lock up hydrodynamics. You can't fence a river. Private land shifts some variables, but not the fundamentals. Access agreements can change. Royalties can be renegotiated. Liability becomes real, and insurance becomes necessary. And the gold itself doesn't improve simply because competition is lower. Private access provides certainty, not richness. There is also the psychological load. Constant searching, constant uncertainty, constant decision making with incomplete information. Empty holes quietly ask whether the last choice was wrong. Over time, that pressure accumulates. The people who last aren't necessarily stronger or luckier. They're the ones who can tolerate ambiguity without panic, who understand randomness, and who don't emotionally chase losses. And yet, there are real positives, and they do matter. Alluvial prospecting offers something rare in modern life: direct feedback between skill and outcome. Improve your reading of water flow, your understanding of trap sites, or your recovery system, and you see it immediately in the pan. You're outdoors, you're physically active, you build deep intuitive knowledge of landscapes and processes. For some people, the search itself isn't exhausting, it's engaging. There's autonomy as well. You choose when you work, where you focus, and how you structure your time. A productive stretch of creek can generate meaningful returns in short bursts, especially at current gold prices. Some people make it work seasonally. Others combine it with specimen sales, content creation, education, or guiding. In those cases, gold isn't the entire income. It's one pillar among several. So, can you leave your job and become a full-time alluvial gold prospector? For most people, the honest answer is no. Not because the gold is gone, but because the conditions required for stable income are rare. They demand exceptional ground, consistent access, deep geological understanding, physical resilience, financial buffers, and emotional tolerance for risk. For a small minority, under the right circumstances, it can work. But those cases are built on preparation, not fantasy. This video isn't about discouraging the idea. It's about showing what the idea actually looks like when the camera turns off. And this is only 1/3 of the picture. In the next video, I'll explore the realities of attempting to mine hard rock gold full-time, where costs escalate, timelines stretch, and geology becomes far less forgiving. After that, I'll examine metal detecting as a primary income source, and why it succeeds spectacularly for a few and fails quietly for most. Because the gold price may be at record highs, but gravity, water, and geology haven't changed. The creek doesn't care why you're there, it only responds to physics, and whether that reality feels brutal or deeply rewarding depends entirely on whether you understand it before you step into the water. I hope you found this as interesting as I did, and as always, thanks for watching. Before I end this video, I'd like to give a big shout out to my Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you so much to everyone that helps to support this channel.